That's right. Greetings, fellow survivor storytellers. Tiki here.
I'm Lazerdude.
And Casey.
And welcome to another installment of the Survivor Storytellers podcast. Why are we here, gentlemen?
To find out who will outwit, outplay, and outlast all the rest.
No, Lazerdude. It's actually much more simple than that. It's because we're storytellers. It's what we do.
Right. Dang it.
It's what we do. All right. Okay, everyone. Welcome back. Survivor 42. Guys, I'm just going to make a bold prediction right off the bat. Marked improvement from 41, right?
Yeah. I'd say so.
I think yes and no. Yes and no.
Yes and no. Ooh, Casey. All right, Casey is we can take thesis statements before we dive into things. What are you not feeling about this season?
So that question, I'm answering it as one of the storytellers. So I think in a lot of ways they fixed a lot of the editing, which is awesome in one sense. But in another way, I think some of their editing has gone back to kind of previous seasons. I feel like there are certain moments, certain chunks of episodes that very much feel in line with an earlier season. And by earlier season, I don't mean like the early seasons. I just mean like a typical season of Survivor. And it's due to the edit of a number of these people who I don't feel like I know as well, and then who are getting booted.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're talking about. All right. We'll get into that with the individual players. I definitely think as a whole, the narrative is much more well crafted. Can you all agree to that?
Better balanced.
Better balanced. Not even necessarily better balanced. I just think that, definitely the fact that we have 3 tribes of 4 people each going into the merge, 2 males, 2 females. If you break it down even further, there's 1 person on each tribe who's most likely to flip. So, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of even numbers here in this merge. But I don't know. I really do think that I really do think this is a unique situation, and maybe it's not the editing. It's more so just kind of the circumstances where this really is the first 3-person tribe 3-tribe season that we've had where we've come out completely even 4-4-4 by the time we get to the merge.
Yeah, which is absolutely wild. I cannot believe it ended up happening that way.
I think it's funny that it took 42 seasons to come out for even 3 tribes, and it took 10 seasons before we got one tribe entirely decimated by the other. This feels like the most logical thing to happen first.
Yeah, totally. So, by that respect, I think that we got a decent amount of time with each tribe. I certainly think that there's at least 1 member of each tribe that's kind of being purple to a certain extent. I think the orange tribe has the best overall edit. We'll talk about that. I certainly think Roxroy is probably our resident purple of the season, if I'm being fair. But we'll get into it. But first, we need to pay some respects to the fallen comrades, if you will. Let's see. I'm going to color this banner black because they're Do.
I never met this person, but they seem nice.
Oh God. Well said. All right. So let's start with Mariah. Hold on. Mariah.
Mariah, I felt like she had a good story that I would have liked to know more. Like her brother, I believe, being the first guy to die of COVID, or first responder, I think, or doctor,
healthcare worker.
Yes, that's right. To die of COVID. I mean, she just tells that story in casting, and she's on. Like, she doesn't need to say another word about her personality or anything. Not that she had a boring personality. It's like, that was a story that was compelling. It reminded me a lot of like Timbertina in
It was.
Exile
I feel
Island.
like Timbertina is definitely the closest comparison we can make with her. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But then she just goes because she just didn't have the right connections. And sometimes that's what just happens. Like, I think that when you have these small tribes, people like Mariah just sometimes just fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I do think the thing with her brother definitely made it at the very least. Like, I feel like she'll be, it's something that sticks, right? Like, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a purple second boot like a Mary or something like that, And so that by that, she didn't get a ton of screen time. But I do think that at the very least she was a very sympathetic character.
Mm.
I mean, I think in terms of, the sympathy side, almost any of these players are very much sympathetic characters. I mean, most of it, and it's something that has been very prevalent between last season and this season, but everyone's kind of has some sort of sob story or some sort of like, big obstacle they overcame. And
Yeah.
that's fine and all. I'm not opposed to that. But the average person does not even to say the average person, but not everybody has a sob story. Not everyone needs to have a sob story for you to want to root for them. I mean, in this case, she did, and her backstory is really all we know of her.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about a couple of the players in this season, but that's really all I have to say about Mary or Mariah. She had that sob story, and that was that, which makes you want to root for her. But beyond that, I guess there was nothing game wise that they could have probably shown us, or at least they chose not to show us.
I think it was kind of a predictable boot, is what I would read into that. Like when we all saw the episode was focusing on her where the previous episode didn't, we're like, it's probably her time to go.
All right, we have Anthony Smith in the comments here. He says Lydia is by far the purple. Roxbury is a character and a half. I'll give you the half.
I actually kind of agree with him. I think Roxbury has had a fair amount of screen time. I feel like I know Roxbury way better than a number of these characters. I think Lydia is a potentially clear purple, and honestly, I think to an extent so is Lindsay.
Yeah. Well, Lindsay doesn't get a lot of confessionals. She's gotten a few moments where she's talking, but it's been like scenes where she's talking to Jonathan or she's talking to Marianne and stuff. Lindsay doesn't usually get any confessionals where she's driving the narrative. It's all been from Omar, Marianne, and Jonathan. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we can get all to that stuff later.
All right. Okay, next up we have Jenny, and as my trademark joke goes, hold on, let me make sure I get the wording on this right. If I had a nickel for every time an Asian woman named Jenny was swapped out of Survivor, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
That has happened twice.
Yeah. I mean, what the actual hell, man?
Yeah. I saw that on Reddit too, and I laughed. It's just like, yeah, Jenny. It's one of those things where it's like you play smart, you didn't go for the advantage, you kept it safe, you played. Can you imagine if she did, and then she lost her vote, and then like Hai and Lydia and Daniel were literally the only people who could vote on that tribe? I mean, that would have been absolutely crazy. But then she ends up going because of no fault of her own. It sucks. It sucks, but I really don't know what else she could have done. I feel like even if she went to Hai and Lydia and said, let's vote out Chanel, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, with Jenny, Jenny is another person I don't have too much to say about. I actually did like her in the beginning. There was this very calm demeanor about her. She seemed very smart. We clearly could tell that she was going to be their puzzle person. I really find it hard that they didn't have any content to really show for her because she did not get much of an edit. And honestly, she didn't do anything wrong. It was, twists and new game mechanics or game mechanics to this season that ultimately screwed her. And also, I guess the bad play by Chanel, but that's
Chanel
mechanics and stuff that I was talking about.
Now, there is one thing about her boot episode that I want to address, because we spent so much time in Tribal that we literally did not get a single moment with the Ica tribe outside of challenges.
I mean, when the Orange Tribe won, I'm like, oh, Green's going to Tribal because we haven't checked in on Blue at all.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's unprecedented editing, and I really don't want that to become a norm. I really don't.
But I mean, how many times is that's the thing? Like, how many times has it happened? And honestly,
this is the first time. But like I said, I don't want it to become a
first time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that for emphasis, like rhetorically. But my thing is that I didn't mind that. I think there were other things that needed to potentially be addressed, other things at play. I do know that there were a lot of people that were pissed off about that. Tiki, I think you were definitely upset about that. But you know what? If it happens maybe like once a season, so be it. Especially when you have, 3 tribes and you have all these people to get to. I mean, they should definitely check in with them at the beginning. But I did not mind it as much as others. I will say that.
I'll say this. I would have been mad if it was a Plaza by the numbers tribal council. If it was just like, and Jenny gets voted off, whoop-de-doo, no big deal, nothing going on, then I'd be like, well, why didn't you check in on there? You didn't even try. But they had a lot to get through in that tribal council, and I understand that in that regard, I would like, and if nothing was going on over there, I would rather get what we got than just to see Tori being pissed more at Roxroy.
That makes sense, yeah. All right, next up we have Swati. This one hurt me, man. I was very high on her during the premiere. I really liked what I saw of her.
I was not as high, and I as soon as she brought up to Tori, we need to get out Drea, I'm like, you don't have the numbers to get out Drea. There's no way you can get the numbers to get out Drea. I thought at that exact moment, like, Swathi's going next.
And that's why it hurt me, because like I thought she would be a better player. I really did.
Oh God, and I thought the same thing about Daniel, which we will get to him obviously.
Oh,
next.
Daniel!
Oh,
I don't know if I've ever seen a player fall so far after being so high.
We will definitely get to him next. But in terms of Swati, though, I think I from the moment she was told about Drea's, from the moment Drea told her and Tori about Drea's advantage, I said to myself, like, I don't understand why she doesn't want to go along with that. It's the beginning of the game and someone's trusting her enough that she wants to create this girl alliance, that she shared her advantage. Why would you get her out? Like, it feels like, yet again, it's another instance of like a young player who's like really wants to get in the game and then they end up overplaying. And then like Tori wasn't in a position. And so I guess Swati effectively did play Tori, which was a very interesting move, but it was more so she was able to do it because of Tori's desperation. She didn't stop to think. So, I mean, as a person, I don't think we got to know Swati too well, a little bit, but as a game player, I think I needed to know everything about her from this season.
Yeah, I think that Swathi's, like, she could see where the moves were going. I mean, obviously, she played it correctly and played the shot in the dark, which is funny because, like, somebody had pointed out, I think it was on Rob has a podcast, is like, even Roxroy was blindsided by Swathi's vote out, but Swathi wasn't, in that regard, because she could see it coming, but he didn't. Which is funny because the person voted out wasn't blindsided, but their ally was.
Right.
But
right.
and she's gone on the record and say, hey, everyone else told me that I was their number one as well. So it's not just on me on this, but it's one of those things that sometimes if you're not in a good enough position, it can bite you in the butt. And I think she was playing hard, but she wasn't in a strong enough position to justify it. You know, she didn't have a lot of numbers on her side. And I always say, don't tell a loose cannon like Tori that you want to go after Drea if you're not going to tribal council that night. You know, maybe if you can make that move that night, great. Give her 3 days to sit on it. She might change her mind about you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly, I'm still high on her as a narrator. I think she was a really good narrator. I think she has potential. Like, I'm probably the highest on her out of the three of us, and I would like to see her on a potential second chance ballot or something. I think she is a unique character and archetype.
I think if that were the case, though, because of a lot of previous Survivor history, if she comes back, they need to bring her back years.
Yeah, I agree.
Years from now.
Give her 5 years. That's what I say.
We said the same thing about Xander.
Xander will definitely be back way sooner, though.
Yes.
Oh, I know. But I think his best case scenario would be a 5-year break.
Yeah, but I mean, put your younger self in their shoes. Do you think 22-year-old you would be able to turn down a second chance at Survivor?
No,
probably not.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
It's actually 22 maybe. Maybe if I was like 19,
like Swathi.
I don't think I would turn it down. But at the age of 22, I definitely had a much more elevated take on Survivor and the naivety of like young players.
Yeah. All right. Anyways.
Okay, finally, let's get to the star of the pre-merge, Mr. Daniel Strunk.
Daniel.
I want to start by saying this. Daniel reminds me a lot of myself. We're the same age. I don't bring this up very often because it happened literally when I was a baby, but I am also a cancer survivor. Oh. And we're both super socially awkward, but very nerdy at the same time. And I really feel for Daniel and what he's going through now on social media. And I really want to embrace Daniel as like a great character, because he was a sloppy as hell player for sure, but I really thought he brought a lot to every episode he was in, just from a character point of view.
Yeah. Daniel, I was like, at the first episode, I was like, meh on the guy. Second episode, I was like, oh man, this guy's actually thinking really smart and everything. Third episode, he starts losing everything, and I'm like, okay, maybe not so great. But I guess actually that's also the episode where they go to trial, and then that just went. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like almost at the point where like Chanel comes back and says, I don't have my vote. I would just say he should have just said, well, let's vote out Jenny and then flip with Mike on them the next vote. You know, hopefully we can get Mike his vote back or something like that, because he's put his game too much at risk. And I don't blame him, because he wanted to support his allies. He wanted to do everything, but then he just handled it so sloppy. Everything after that he could have done wrong, he did wrong.
It's a rise and fall.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate. I really think it's a very compelling pre-merge arc.
For sure.
So with Daniel, and also I've been trying not to talk too much. I mean, I'm trying to get my points out, but for those who can hear me, I'm just having a mic issue, so I don't want to But anyway, so that aside, Daniel was one of the three characters I really thought was going to be like the lookout for players of the season. And I think I believe I did say that after the premiere, and I definitely was super high on Daniel being one of the three players to look out for. But by episode 3, yeah, my whole opinion of that got flipped upside down. So Daniel is definitely at this point in the game the best edited of all the characters, and given that he is like more or less like the last pre-merge boot, probably along with this twist. I think they did a really good job. I know him as a game player. I know him as a person. I know him very well, and I think he got his fair and adequate time on screen. With Daniel too, I think some people misview Daniel, and it's a conversation I've had with my family quite a bit because we all watch Survivor and we obviously all talk about it afterwards. But, I think Daniel is a little bit like scatterbrained, and despite him being in school to become a lawyer, I think sometimes, especially given that he's got a very personal investment in it, his thoughts and ideas don't come out too clearly. And so I think, everything he was saying, especially at that tribal when everything went to hell in the third episode, he was telling the truth. But also, when we look at Mike and Chanel, for instance, they did, in a sense, sort of hang him out to dry because he was trying to play with his alliance, and he asked Chanel what to do. And then I believe it was Mike that interrupted, and straight up was just like, it doesn't matter what we want to do because we don't have a say. It's like, dude, you guys are voting together. Mike was trying to play with you, and you, if anything, just shut him down. So why would he want to work with you in the future? Which, granted, Daniel didn't even look at it that way anyway.
I think what he should have done, and I'm not usually a proponent of a live tribal it, but I think he should have gotten up, taken Mike and Chanel aside, and asked, okay, here's the situation. Either us three are going to Rocks with High, or we're voting out Jenny. What do we want to do? Your guys' vote is my vote. We go as a team. I don't want anybody else to hear. But then he aired it out in public, and then because of that, they didn't want to look bad, so they kind of threw him under the bus, and then he kind of threw them under the bus.
Yeah,
it was a very memorable tribal council moment, and I don't really want to dwell on the specifics of it and the strategy because we're not really a strategy podcast. But like I said, I just want to acknowledge the fact that it made for really good TV, and I do think that it's a super compelling kind of like rise and fall arc through the pre-merge. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of something like almost like a reverse Rob Sabatnik or something like that.
Two bees. I'm not sure about that. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Penner, like his scramble type is like he's trying to come across as like sincere and thought-wise, but then it just makes everyone distrust him more and more the more he talks. But anyway, yeah, he was a great character. I loved him. I would be open to seeing him coming back. I would love to see a Daniel Angelina alliance. That would just.
There is also
messy alliance.
There is also something, and I'm very, very, very upset about not writing it down when I saw/heard it. But Daniel did an interview with EW, as all the survivors do, and he was on Rob as a podcast. So I don't know if anyone read or saw those things, but he actually, because a lot of people were like, Chanel didn't betray you, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people really pissed off at that for Daniel saying that. But Daniel did clarify in both of those interviews what he meant. And it was per a conversation that they had that they actually never showed in the show. And I'm so mad because I meant to write it down because I wanted to talk about it. And because it obviously pertains to what we're talking about, the story of it all. And I feel like that was a bad component that wasn't put into the show, and it just actually, because it's not in the show, it just makes him look like even more of a mess of a character.
Yeah, it's sad when you get the dodo edit, but sometimes you do, and after it, all you can hope for is that it was a fun ride, and just like Billy Garcia, it was a fun ride, although it wasn't that bad.
All right. We have Oliver Messenger who says Daniel seems like a good guy. Yeah, absolutely. And I really am, I do get the feeling through social media that he's having a tough time dealing with the criticism, and that is one of the things that I do try to avoid with this podcast, as far as like nitpicking the strategy talk, because at the end of the day, I'm all about good gameplay, bad gameplay. Was he a good character? Did I enjoy seeing him on my TV screen? And the answer to both of those is a reassuring yes, in my opinion.
Yeah. And every single player is capable of making a big boneheaded move.
Yeah.
We've seen some of the greatest players make some of the dumbest moves. So, I mean, the fact that it didn't work out for him, it's too bad, but, sometimes it happens.
All right, Casey, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're late, so I'm going to put you on the spot, buddy. What tribe do you want to go to first?
I think we should talk about. We'll talk about Vati.
Vati, okay.
I mean, we just talked about Daniel, so it feels natural.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's go to High. And I am going to say this right now. I think High might be playing one of the best games.
Yeah.
That's a
I
bold
can see that.
statement.
I mean, best game on the Green Tribe for sure.
I would probably say best game on the Green Tribe as well, but also literally, if we just look at who's on the Green Tribe, they probably are the worst of all the players in the game.
I'm high on High.
You got high hopes for me.
I mean, luckily, High did sniff that out.
That's the thing. It's like strategic.
I think High's edit is basically like he is everything as a player that Daniel couldn't be, and that's why that's why I have my eye on him. I don't necessarily think he's gonna win, but I am higher on him than I was on in the premiere. Like he has had more of a presence than I thought he would, and he's definitely kind of taken a leadership role in his tribe. And yeah. I am very impressed how him and Lydia literally went from, like a 2-person minority in a 5-person tribe to the center of the tribe.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, High picking up Mike was an amazing move. And the fact that Mike seems to be all in on it is really, really good. His read to put his vote on Jenny and not on Mike it's a move that technically shouldn't make any sense. It's like, if you're doing this and you're aligned, then it should be good. But if you're doing this and you're not aligned, you're already screwed. But even though it didn't make sense from his information, he still went with his gut and did it and saved his entire game because of it. And yeah, it's a smart move and it's a good play. I'm interested to see how far High can go, because we have a lot of things weighing on High. He has one of the amulets. He's in a good alliance, but we also have this thing with Chanel and where her loyalty is going to be. Was she lying to him just to get to the merge, or was she really sincerely not going to move anywhere? And I don't know. We'll get to Chanel when we get to her, but I'm not sure about that. But I think High is doing the best with what he got.
All right. Casey, any other notes on High?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think, I kind of said, it was a bold statement, but I think he's playing the best of all them. But I do think, we've seen the subtleties of his gameplay. I don't know him too much as a person, but I think, moving forward into the merge, he could potentially become one of the top dogs. And, as we've said, as we've seen also so many times in previous seasons, sometimes the victor does not come out until the second half of the game, or even more specifically, the final third. But yeah, I think he now could be one of the people to look out for.
Cool. All right, let's get to Mike and like right down to the name and occupation. When this guy was first announced on the cast, I thought he'd be one of the more generic people, and I got to admit, somehow, he is one of the more unique people on the cast. I think. Mike is almost like a throwback to like a Rudy type of player. He really is, because it's like he's got the alliance and he sticks to it, and you know, like he reminds me of Rudy in the fact that, like, you know, he's got that core philosophy where it's like he knows he's kind of the odd man out with the young kids, so he kind of just has to roll with the punches and just sort of like float to, you know, just kind of do what he has to do to survive. Like, I don't know, like that is kind of the vibe that I'm getting with Mike. Is sort of like a younger, like, you know, like more multi-dimensional and game savvy Rudy.
Yeah, Mike is a character who I feel like he could go a long way. Like, I'm not sure who's too threatened by Mike, but I feel like he's one of the players that could go a long way, that could make a big splash at the end. Like, because when it gets down to it, when you get to the end, strategy starts to become more and more easy. You know, it's like, this is the obvious person we need to vote out. And I feel like Mike could make at the very least, a good run towards the end, if not getting a couple votes. He'll have to do some things, maybe play that idol correctly or something to get those votes. But I could see it. I could see him making a splash at least to the final 5.
Mike to the final 5.
I could see it. I'm not sure.
I could see Mike in the final 5.
I'm not sure. It's like for the Green
I could definitely
tribe,
see him being the last Vati standing.
Well, I think Lydia might have a better chance with that, but who knows? You never really know.
I think with Lydia, I think there's potential for it to be like, oh, we don't want to, you know, like I might have an idol, so let's target his right hand. I don't know. That's where my fear for Lydia comes into play. Not to mention, I feel like her edit kind of implies that she's going to get idled out.
Oh God. Yeah, for Mike, I mean, you know, I'm trying to, you know, really look into the story of it all, really look into the you know, the edit of it all. I could see Mike being mid. I just don't see. I don't know. I just don't see.
Don't see a winning game.
Early one, yeah, a winning game or late. I feel like he'll just be mid merge.
Okay, that's fair. All right. I just think he's got a lot of story set up as far as, like, you know, like him adapting to the game and kind of rolling with the punches and everything.
I just think the players who are just like loyal to their group, like once their group is gone, you're not really all that worried about them. So, you know, if Vati, like, well, you know, it's going to probably be some group of the 4 is going to gang up on the other 4. That's probably most likely scenario. But if Vati is the group that gets picked off, once he's the only one left, I don't feel like anyone's that threatened to go after him. Really. That's just how I feel. But he's a lot of fun. I always love how he has to, like, he couldn't just pretend to like soccer. You know, he couldn't just say, there's so much grace. I love soccer, you guys. He couldn't just say that. No, he had to say, you know what? Normally, I wouldn't like soccer, but blah, 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 blah. And this, for that reason, there's so much grace in the game of soccer that it makes me cry. It's just like, Mike, you could have just said, you like soccer. And then correct people after the game's over. But no, his ego couldn't let him.
He has a lot of, like, really uniquely funny moments like that.
Yeah. There's just something about him in general, and I recognize it could literally be something as small as him having a gap in his teeth. It literally comes off like he's got these very light-hearted and almost like he's the older, like, fun guy, like doofy guy, and I was expecting him to be an alpha douche.
Yeah, exactly, totally.
There's a lot of characters who've like changed your what your expectations were, and I'm sure we'll get to one of them at least very quickly soon.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Lydia. Ooh, yeah, this is not a great edit.
Yeah,
her one big confessional in the first episode is so choppy. And it's choppy because they're taking all of the self-criticism things that she's said over like a course of an hour interview and put them all together to make her things like, oh, I'm so pathetic. I can't do it out here. I can't do this. I've never been camping, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, I feel like that's like not fair to her. I mean, she seems to have decent at least from what I seen, like the pre-show, the interviews and stuff I seen. She seemed to have a decent strategy, and we've been getting nothing.
It's like literally the first time she got significant airtime was just because she went to Ship Wheel.
And all we got was, and I'm not saying anything. Well, no duh, Lydia. No duh. That's nothing's changed here.
How awkward was that scene with Roxroy, by the way?
I mean, it could have been worse.
I don't know, man. I was there on top of the building. Hard. I gotta be honest.
No, so wait. In reference to when she went to the Ship Wheel, right? Which was what, last episode?
Yeah.
With Roxroy. I actually had said this to a couple people, and I've gotten very mixed responses. Also, I apologize. My dog's like coughing in the background. But I've gotten very mixed responses. But I actually think last episode was probably the best edited episode of the season so far. And just to clarify, I'm not saying it was the most exciting, but I think last episode, we touched upon each of the tribes. We understand their current dynamics as the pre-merge is coming to a close. We get who the players are. We get who's on the bottom. And we got a pretty nicely edited, boot for last episode. And with the Lydia and Roxroy thing, in terms of the advantage thing, it's perfect. They touched upon what happened without this advantage segment overpowering everything else in the episode. I do think it is the best edited episode of this season so far.
Yeah, no, I can see that, because we've had other episodes where like some characters have fallen by the wayside, and heck, an entire tribe fell by the wayside in one episode. But this one, you're right, we did touch on everyone. We touched on the Orange Tribe and on Marianne and Jonathan and Lindsay and Omar there. We touched on Blue and all the dynamics there, and then of course Green was the tribal council. So yeah, no, I would sign off on that.
And then in terms of commenting on Lydia, I mean, we've already said she's the closest thing, pretty much her and, in my mind, Lindsay are the closest things to purple edits. But I think with Lydia, based on her edit, if it is truly purposeful at all, I really think that Lydia, her character, her role in this season is she is just straight up Ty's right-hand man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's why I really do think like my prediction for her is going to be like idled because of that specific placement. Like I really do think the purpling is like a Kelly Scarsborough situation.
I don't know how she goes out. Like I would have said like, well, even if like she made it far, she probably wouldn't have gotten. But then we got Heather last season, so it's possible that she could make it far and still get purpled. I don't think it's possible that she can win,
and I think it's possible for Lindsay to win, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The thing that bothers me is like when these people are like funny outside of the show, like apparently like everyone's ranting and raving about her Twitter and how hilarious it is and everything. And
she
then it's
has
just like
one of the biggest social media presences out of anyone in the cast.
And it's like it's one of those things. It's like, well, obviously you're
in.
funny, so why are they editing you so boring?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like
sometimes this show does subdue people, and I'm not saying from an editing perspective, but sometimes people feel super out of their element, and then they don't act themselves, and they get
That's true. That's true.
It's a game for $1 million, so there's always the possibility that's how she really acted, or at least somewhat how she acted.
All right, so let's talk Chanel, and I was pretty low on her, and I still am low on her winning chances. I do think she is a pretty decent character as far as, she essentially got thrown under the bus, and the whole rest of her edit has kind of been like trying to claw her way back, and then kind of being at a crossroads of like, should I flip at the merge? So I will admit they put some decent work into I am pretty compelled by her individual story and where she goes at the merge. I do think she's kind of at a crossroads at this point.
Chanel, for me, has proven every single time to be the most self-interested player of the cast. Every single time, everything she's done has been self-interested. Whether it's the risking her vote to try to get power for herself, whether
Which that was a terrible move, by the way.
It was a terrible move. Absolutely it was a terrible move. Whether it's throwing Daniel under the bus when he was reaching out for a lifeline, whether it's throwing a vote on Mike just to make sure that if Daniel plays the shot in the dark, that there is at least one more vote on somebody else. I mean, Chanel is covering her butt more hard than anybody else in this game. And I feel like that has prospects for her to last long, but I don't feel like it has prospects for her to win. I feel like she's going to be like the cockroach that keeps on moving to wherever the numbers is. And it's probably not going to have enough numbers on her side to sway the game. But I think she is a smart player. Like, I do. I really do. I think she can make some moves. I don't think she's done just yet. And I think that she has room to move, room to maneuver. I'm just thinking it's a tough journey for her.
Casey?
Yeah, in terms of Chanel, I feel like Chanel is actually going to make it really far. Her, along with Hai, are probably the two people to look out for on this current tribe. But with Chanel, I agree. The current edit, and I think sometimes this gets lost on the casual fan, she definitely is too in self-preservation mode, and she is ultimately destroying her game because of it. So I think probably by the time she does get out, you're going to have a pretty clear idea of, okay, I saw that in episode 3, and then in 4, and then in 5, and then at the merge. This is exactly why she's out. She played too much of an individual game, especially on the levels when you really need to play a wider social game. Also, I agree with you, Anthony Smith, in the comments. There is the difference between, your online persona versus, in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. All right. Okay, so I think she is one of the more interesting people as far as like game positioning is concerned.
Yeah.
All right, so Lazerdude.
I will also really quickly say this. She could very easily, at the merge, flip her whole game.
But here's the thing. I think she's smart enough not to flip too soon. I don't think she's first chance she gets, she's going to flip on this green tribe. I think she's not going to pull a cast. She's going to wait till the numbers settle down a little bit and then flip because she doesn't want to be the person giving up power.
I could see that.
So yeah, but you were saying something, Tiki?
Yeah, Lazerdude. Which tribe do you want to go to?
I want to go to the blue tribe just because last time when we talked, we all had some pretty differentiating opinions on some of the characters on the blue tribe.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with the man himself, Mr. Rocks. Hey guys, we got some rocks over here. Could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
Rock
filter built, Deb.
Oh wait, Diane, is that it?
What?
You were doing an impression. We could make it a good shelter just using rocks. Was it Deb Eaton?
Yeah, Deb Eaton, yeah.
Yes, that's who it was. I was like, for a second, I thought Jillian, but I'm like, no, she was about the dung, not the
honestly,
rock.
One of my all-time favorite Survivor quotes. Anyways.
Yeah. They should have like a meme with that and just like Roxroy just building.
That's what I'm saying, man.
The one doing the work.
Roxroy is fun because he's an unintentional curmudgeon, yet seems to just be there to enjoy himself, be fatherly, and a throwback to older types of play. His dynamic with Tori really makes his character. I don't know.
Rockroy feels like he's out of like the first 8 seasons.
To me, he's a very one-note presence on this season. But I hear what you're saying, Anthony. I really do. I get that argument where, he's the unintentional curmudgeon. I don't know, like, I think, dare I say, maybe like a Frank Garrison type, although I think Frank Garrison is a really underrated character in that regard.
I agree with that. Right. It's like, I think he thinks that he's just being direct, and then he's like, why is everybody mad at me? I'm just...
Does he have some Rory upside, potentially?
I'm a grown-arse man. Come on.
I mean, Rory is a legend. I don't think I've seen anything out of Roxroy that's as entertaining as that. I don't know.
No, I think Roxroy is a character that I don't know why you get. Like, I feel like his greatest risk is going to be at this next twist, whatever it is. Because Tori hates Roxroy, and she wants to get Roxroy out with a passion. If it's one of those things again where 6 people are eligible to be voted for, and he's one of them, I feel like she could try to get him voted out. Like, Tori is the type of person that could flip on the first vote. But yeah,
Tori
I think
Roxroy,
if Roxroy doesn't get out, then it's just like, why would you get rid of him? I mean, unless this is like an Abby Maria, like he's so annoying, you got to get rid of him. I don't know why you would get rid of Roxroy, who is like drawing.
I hate to say it, but I feel like he really has the potential to just be like a final 3 seat filler.
Yeah. The Will Sims,
and I don't think I really Will Sims was a genuine asshole.
way worse.
Yeah, and I don't think Rock's an asshole, and I agree. No. I agree with Anthony. He's kind of like I do see the unintentional curmudgeon thing. So I do not want to just directly compare him to Will Sims, but I think as far as game goes, sadly, he's kind of playing a very similar game to that. Just, I just feel like he's less malicious.
Yeah, no, I feel like he's starting to realize that he's not in a good place strategically, but I'm not sure if he's strategically savvy enough to do anything about it because he's such a loyal to the core guy.
Yeah, with Roxroy,
I would love a Roxroy Final Tribal Council. Like, I don't even know how he got cast. I mean, that is one of the fun things about him is just kind of like he's sort of like got an uncanny quality to him, like with just the name in itself just being a weird ass name, and
it does sound like a Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Roxroy,
no, I definitely agree with he does feel like a throwback to the first 8 seasons. He does feel that way.
See, Roxroy, I mean, I've said it before too, Roxroy definitely has this presence about him where he almost seems like he's some sort of he grew up in the military. And I think, in terms of why he got casted, I think exactly what we've seen so far is the exact reason he got casted.
Yeah.
He is socially oblivious. And sometimes, unfortunately, these reality competitions, they do cast people who have no chance of winning the game or people who they assume have no chance of winning the game, but to fill a dynamic that they need to in the cast.
Yes.
And with Roxroy, I think it was very interesting that he even said in a confessional, I don't think I have been as socially aware as I thought I had been. That right there, though, I have to give him a lot more credit than I originally gave him, because that single sentence in a confessional shows a lot. Not everyone can even admit to something like that.
That's true.
Yeah. It took Coach 3 seasons before he was like, yeah, maybe I'm not so great at this.
Oh man, Coach in South Pacific is one of my all-time favorite character arcs, dude. I love it.
Coach in general is my all-time favorite survivor. I love that guy, and he could have won his final season, but he really did bomb the FTC.
Yeah, right. Yes, he did. But in terms of Roxroy,
oh my God, Sophie in that final tribal council, just fucking, I love it so much.
These two are my girls, my dumb teenage girls. Yeah, she's great. But in terms of Roxroy as a story, I really don't see. Here's what I feel like Roxroy, if he does go out, I feel like he's going to try to force a vote and it's going to be a vote that Dre and Romeo don't want, but he's going to put his foot down and demand it to happen. And then they're just going to be like, you know what, you want to just get rid of Rocks? And then they do that. But if he just keeps his head down, he probably has a sure shot for third place.
Yeah. Cool 100K, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yikes.
All right, let's get to Romeo, who was my winner pick and is no longer my winner pick.
What?
I still like him as a character. I just think that his edit has been a little all over the place.
Casey, you still think he's a villain?
So it's funny, after our previous podcast, when I said he definitely gave me villain vibes, I no longer feel that way. But the funny thing is my brother actually said to me the following day, he completely agreed with me. He got big villain vibes. But I do not feel that way anymore. But I'm a little lost on Romeo. I feel like he is going to potentially be one of the bigger players of the merge, but I just don't see a winner edit out of him. And it could be probably due to the fact that I just feel like I've seen from his group the least in general, not saying him the least, but his group in general, just the least out of them in terms of the edits.
He just had the weirdest confessional last time about him like empowering women and him like Drea doing well. He feels like he's doing well because of that. That to me is one of the oddest confessionals I've ever seen. And I don't know fully what it's implying. Like, what is that setting up? Is it setting up like he's going to sacrifice his game for Drea, or that he's going to be maybe the robbed of the season? Like, oh, he was so close, but at least his ally got there. Or maybe, possibly, is it setting up for a moment where he feels like he'll have to turn on her and he will find it hard to do that?
Could you actually repeat the line you were referencing for me really quick?
Well, he was talking about how he was a pageant coach. I can't remember the exact line, but he talked about how he loves empowering women. And then he said, like Drea here, her doing so well in this game, it's like, and I like that I'm helping her. It's like I'm her coach, something like that. I can't remember this exact specifics, but it was something along those lines, and about supporting her. And that got me like thinking, like, what is this setting up? I feel like this is setting up something, but I don't know what.
I mean, that could potentially be setting up something for the future, or even potentially a strong female winner sort of edit, but through the lens of somebody else. But also, I think that is literally just very key to who he is as a person. And we'll probably see, and, Tiki, used to be a part of the org community quite a bit, but that's actually something that you kind of see in the org community with a number of players. So I feel like that's just potentially who he is and who he works with.
Yeah, maybe. I don't feel like he's going to be a target right out the bat. I think he's positioned himself pretty well socially. I think that although when you get down to the line, when you get closer and closer to the end, he's going to become more dangerous. I feel like people are going to look at him. He's like, oh, look at this, this little skinny guy. He reminds me of Todd Herzog. I'm not sure if I can let him get too much closer.
All right. Let's see. You've got some comments here. He says, I'm tired of characters consciously playing for others after the last season. I don't mind social issues, personal value shaping the narrative, but the mentality in game is just foreign to me. So I can't root for Romeo any longer. Yeah, I just don't know what to make of it. I agree. There's some weird vibes with it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
That sort of mentality, in general, it feels very foreign to me. I feel like if you're at the end of the game and you're not in the game and you're pitching for someone to win at Ponderosa, at the Final Tribal Council, that's kind of a different story. But even, what we saw in the previous season of Big Brother, where we had, Derek F. completely, just like, oh, I'm fine with second. Like, this is why I think casting in general needs to start freaking casting people who need the money. It's $1 million fucking dollars, people. $1 million.
Cast only poor people.
Cast me. I'm poor.
All right.
No, do a season rich people versus poor people.
All right, Drea.
I love that.
Well, Drea. When I made her my winner pick, nobody here thought that was a good idea. You guys still might not, but I'm just saying she has an extra vote. She has the amulet, and she has an immunity idol. It's not looking too bad for Drea right now.
Yeah, I definitely think out of this tribe, she's definitely got the best shot. I will say that much for sure.
Oh, absolutely. She's got pretty much all the power. And even despite there trying to be an upset against her, it made practically no difference. I think we've seen a good strategic side to her. We've seen a good physical side to her. And on top of that, we've seen a good social side to her. They're all subtle.
I still think she's a little bit game body as a character. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, game bots can win the game too.
Yeah, they definitely can. But I don't see that. I mean, we also see the emotional side. Every time there is a vote, I'm fairly certain in every instance they went to tribal, Drea showed the emotional side to her in the uncertainty because she kind of does factor in people's feelings, which is something that, can be a big part of an FTC. I actually like Drea, and I feel like she's going to be a mid or pretty go far in the merge, but I'm just not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she's just like right now her story has been one of like she's made a good wall around her.
A lot of her story is advantages. That's all I'm saying as far as the game.
It is, and I'm not saying she's going to win just because of the advantages, but I feel like right now she's in the best position to use them. I feel like, and also like I know that the Blue Tribe with the whole Tori Roxroy thing, it makes it really unstable, but it also makes it that Tori and Roxroy are more reliant on her than they are on each other. And it stops the fact that it lessens the chance that they will turn on them. Where like Mike and Chanel could turn on Hai and Lydia at one point. Or you could have Jonathan and Lindsay turn on Omar and Marianne, or vice versa at some point. When you're more 2-2-2-2, it leaves that open. When you're more like 2 and then 1 and 1, that chance is not as plausible.
But
okay. Anyway, I'm loving my winner pick.
No, I think that's it for her.
Okay, we have Anthony Smith. He's saying, Drea, I don't see her edit as particularly strong, and I think her confessionals lampshade her. The tide's turning in her favor has not been because of her own strong gameplay. I mean, I don't know I don't necessarily agree with that. I think she's aggressive as far as like going out and getting all the stuff that she's getting.
I mean, we really call that aggressive. She just happened to be a part of the leg of the first challenge where that gave her the first advantage. And then the second time she went to the island where she played things smart, and that's how she got. I mean, I wouldn't say it was aggressive by any stretch.
Right, Casey, fair point. I get your point.
I would say this, though. I've heard in stuff like with Swathi in her exit interview how she said like Drea, she really felt was like manhandling the camp where like nobody was allowed to go out and look for idols, and that she felt it was Drea who was really driving that bus. And so I do feel like she does have a little bit of a control over her tribe. Maybe that sort of play might bite her in the butt as we get closer to the end. I don't know. It's possible. But I feel like she did risk her vote to do it, and she played it right. And then she got the idol when she got other people not to look for it. So that there is also a positive. But it all depends. You never know. But right now she's the only character to have all three advantages in her pocket.
Which is pretty fucking impressive.
It is. All right, Tori. prediction for merge boot, right?
No, I don't think so.
No,
So
really?
I'm not sure if Tori's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think so at
Okay.
all. Tori was the second of the three characters in which I said they are the people to look out for. I think Tori made a small mistake in the beginning. Then she made another mistake, but she turned it around. I think Tori's story is potentially the story of I made a mistake and I bounced back from it. And honestly, that sometimes makes a really good survivor winner is someone who can bounce back from their mistakes. I think Tori is going to flip. It's a question of who she flips with and also how far it's going to take her. And I have high hopes for her.
I am not seeing it, man. I can't like sure Tori she's bounced back, but it's always been by the skin of her teeth and a large part not due to her, you know? Like I don't feel like Tori said or did anything. Now she didn't do anything to get herself voted out. But I feel like it was Romeo who like put the pieces together to get out Swathi. I really don't feel feel like Tori's gonna try, but I see Angelina vibes for Tori all the way. How she's gonna try to overplay, and everyone's gonna see through it.
That is very, very fair. I think I could see it either way. I think I could seriously see Angelina vibes, or I could see she's learning from her mistakes. I had a lot higher expectations for her in the very beginning of the game as of what I have now, but I still potentially see something out of her, and I hope it comes true because there is something about her character.
Sometimes the merge is a new game for everybody, but I personally don't have the faith that she can pull it off.
So
I mean, sometimes it's literally just the last few rounds of a game that makes someone's game.
So what we were talking about with Chanel of how we think that she's going to be smart and wait for the opportune time to flip. I think Tori being super anxious to flip is going to be her downfall. And that's why I think she could potentially be a merge boot. Because I think, with all the chaos of the merge, I think there is potential for, like a tribe of 4 and then the 3 others that are on Tori's side to be like, why don't we just get out Tori? She's totally untrustworthy.
I mean, I feel like Tori's the type of person you want to just keep around because she's going to be distracting. You can always probably convince her to be the decoy boot for other players. If I'm someone like Drea, I want to keep Tori along as long as possible. Now, it might come to a point where you have to cut her, but I don't know. I think like Tori benefits a lot of the bigger players' gains by keeping her in the game.
All right, that's fair. I just think that I think she's going to have a perception of her as like if she does indeed flip the first vote of the merge. I don't think that's going to look good on her long term.
I don't exactly agree with that because sometimes there are people that are just in fucking awful situations and other people recognize that. Unless this cast is super nearsighted, I don't think she's going to be viewed like that. And with everything we have been getting from her edit, especially given the fact that it is a 4-4-4 going into this like final round of the pre-merge, I think this is what her edit's been building to.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I really like her as a character still, so I certainly hope she goes far.
Oh, absolutely.
I hope she tries to bond with Marianne over like Harry Potter.
That'd be great. Oh my god.
Bringing it back, baby. Yes. I'm bringing it back.
Oh, dude, I'd love it. I would love that. So, Marianne, what are your thoughts on butterbeer? Have you tried butterbeer? Is it delicious?
Well, to be fair, Marianne would probably love this train of conversation. So it might work.
She would. Dude, I feel like Marianne's the type of person where it's like she'd fit right in on this podcast.
Oh yeah, she'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think she'd overpower.
I mean, I'm not talking about this Survivor podcast. I'm talking about like the So You Want to Be an Imagineer channel as a whole.
I think in any social situation like this, even especially if it's something related to, you know, something that's perceived as kid-like, she'd fit right in. And honestly, on a quick side note, Tori and Mary Ann, what if they ended up becoming like ride or dies? That would just be the.
I'd love that. I would love
don't think
that.
it's gonna happen, but that would be.
It would be a great story. It would be
Our
a unique
alliance.
story, unlike anything else on Survivor, and people would be talking about it like when people compare their relationships, it's like, I want to find a Steven or I want to find a JT. They'd be like, I want to find a Marianne or a Tori. It would.
All right, let's transition to Marianne here.
You know, Marianne has been a lot of fun. A little annoying sometimes, but still a lot of fun this entire way. I still haven't seen too much from her strategically, but then again, we haven't really had a lot of opportunity to. You know, like the only vote we saw them go to was for Mariah, and for that one, it was a Marianne and Mariah thing. And so she didn't really have any room to do anything magically strategic. So I'm still kind of waiting on Marianne to see if she's got the chops. But as a character, she's such a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the fan base split on her. And to a certain extent, I get her. I get it because she is a lot. But like I said, she is like my type of people. You know what I mean? It's like, I think she already has several like iconic moments. Like the Zach thing was just so fucking funny, man. Oh my God. That was just amazing.
Zach from the Railroad Tribe. Okay.
Zach from Railroad Tribe? God. The Mario Kart thing. Yes. I don't know. I don't
Bunny in the mailbox, how she's trying to sell it every single time. Just like, Marianne, wait for them to bring it up, okay? You've already said it. They know you haven't. Wait for them to bring it up next time. But
coming from
like the bunny rabbit.
Coming from her though, she seamlessly, out of the 6 people that have now done it between 2 seasons, she did it the best.
I think Drea did it okay, but I could see that.
She just did it so in character that if I was there, I would just be like, oh, that's Marianne.
She should have done it in like her mother voice. You know, Marianne.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of bummed
that
the mother voice hasn't become a reoccurring gag.
Yeah, and like I was hoping to be like, it's just like the rabbit in the mailbox, you know, something like that. It would have been so funny if she kept doing that. Okay. I'll just have to wait to see her to get on a podcast with like on Rob at a podcast and try to challenge Christian Hubicki for longest podcast ever, because I feel like that's what she's going to try to do.
Oh, I could see that. Oh God. Anthony Smith says, I think we've seen that. Sorry.
So wait, sorry to I guess I interrupted you, but wait, what was the longest podcasting with Christian?
I think Christian Hubicki has it for 5 hours on him talking about Second Chance and their season rankings. He talked about it with Rob. I mean, if you put Christian Hubicki and Marianne on a podcast together, it would just be infinity.
Oh, forget about it. Oh my God.
Also, don't forget about Daniel. Put him on a podcast with anyone who'll talk forever. Did you see his You see the exit interview with him?
I got to be honest with you. I've kind of not been engaging with rap outside of know-it-alls for the past couple seasons.
Yeah, he kept on going on a few tangents about like how he was going to buy like Rob's kid something like Lego Death Star.
Oh God!
Because he said he wasn't going to. Yeah, he wasn't, because he's clearly, Daniel is also, and it was made very, very, very clear between Rob as a podcast and his EW interview, he's a super fan. And I mean, it was prevalent on the show as well, but he is a super freaking fan. He knows Rob as a podcast like in and out. But yeah, he's a talker, a big talker.
I can see that.
I mean, it's not like I get like, look who's talking, literally us. I mean, it's hard to judge, but yeah, bringing it back just to Marianne, no, she's fun. I still haven't necessarily seen the strategic chops from her, but she hasn't needed to, so it could come out after the merge.
Now I'm just dreaming of that Tory alliance, man. I want that to happen. All right. Anthony Smith says, I think we've seen that Marianne is thinking through strategy in her reactions to Jonathan. Her bubbly personality could offset any future strikes if underestimated. And I could see that.
I completely agree with that. I think Mary, yeah, because exactly, and as we've been saying, there's not been a whole lot of room for her to be strategic, but her strategies have been in the subtleties of her edit. Even going back to that first episode when, they're talking, when she, does the summit thing, and she talks about, taking a risk and shit like that. The subtleties of her strategies are out in that moment. We haven't really seen anyone's strategies. Omar is probably the most strategic, but Marianne, once again, it's the subtleties.
Sure.
Yeah. And right. I feel like Marianne has room to move, like if, let's say, Green and Blue Tribe gang up on Orange Tribe next episode, I feel like they're not going to be going for Marianne first, or even as a decoy boot. I feel like they'd be going after Lindsay first if they were trying to throw the vote on someone else random. And I feel like she has room to move into another alliance if her tribe falls.
Yeah, I agree.
I think honestly, everybody on Taku has room to move about. It's just going to be Jonathan's going to be an early target, and then I think after that, people are going to look at them as non-factors, which gives them a lot of agency in the game.
Okie dokie. All right, so let's move on to Lindsay. Let me give you my argument for Lindsay. She's absolutely got one of the more low-key edits of the cast, for sure, as far as screen time goes. But I do think that she's got a way better edit than Lydia does, just in the sense that she is always present within this camp. She might not be talking the most, but we see who she's interacting with. We see that she is on good terms with everybody, which literally nobody else in this camp can say that. And I think she is low-key playing the best social game on this tribe.
Whoa, hot take.
I honestly do. I think I really think that. What?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't really have any evidence to say you're wrong, but if it is, we haven't really seen it.
I think we've seen it just in the fact that, like, obviously, Marianne and Jonathan are at each other's throats, and both of them we have seen go to Lindsay, and Lindsay have one-on-one conversations with both of them. Omar is a little bit more of a wild card in that regard. I'll agree. But I think at the very least, she is kind of like positioned herself as a swing vote between Marianne and Jonathan.
My biggest fear for Lindsay, this is more my prediction. I think that Lindsay is my number one contender to be the merge boot. And this is why. I feel like two of the players are going to join up who have the amulet and try to get out one of the other ones. And I think the obvious way to do it is for Hai and Drea to team up and say, well, we don't want to vote out Jonathan. Someone might play an idol on him, or he could have an idol, or something like that. We should vote out his number one ally, Lindsay. And I feel like that could happen, especially if we don't know how many people are going to be eligible for tribal council. Maybe Jonathan's not able to be voted out. Maybe Lindsay is. I feel like Jonathan is going to be the focal point of everybody, but they might not want to go for him first.
I could see, Jonathan being too big of a target, and I could see Lindsay potentially being the final pre-merge or the merge boot, whatever the hell you want to officially say.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to bring their amulets together though for that extra vote.
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, God, no. I think they're going to be very selfish with it, and people are going to ultimately shoot to get that individual immunity. Hidden immunity necklace, or potentially when it goes down to 2, a vote steal, especially if the numbers are lower. I mean, that's a pretty good, strategy.
Yeah. So, I could see the vote steal. I could not see the extra vote. If they use the extra vote, I am going to be pissed. I feel like Jeff would be too. It's like they'd be like, Jeff, we're using our amulets for an extra vote. And he'd be like, really? This is what you're doing? Really? Come on. Guys, stop it. Shut up.
And
Sit down. Vote one of you. Shut up.
But I think, that's the thing. We haven't heard anything of that in a while. So the second we see previously on Survivor and they mention that amulet, you better get ready to potentially see something crazy.
Are they doing the previously ons again? I thought they stopped doing that after season 41.
No, I think they've done it like once or twice this season, but I think for the
Maybe
most
they
part
have.
they
I
haven't.
haven't been paying attention.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just want to say with Lindsay, though, I think, she is, along with Lydia, the closest thing we have to a purple edit. I think we've seen her more so in the dynamics of the tribe, especially last episode. But beyond that, I don't know her as a player. I don't know her as a person. But also on a random note, one of my players from season 2 of Prometheus just actually told me that they know her family, which is kind of cool.
Oh, weird.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
All right, next up, let's go to the Zoo Man, Omar.
Emu shirt.
Yes. One of the better wardrobes of the season, I think.
It's just so intense.
I think Omar's doing really well for himself.
Yeah.
I think, what I was saying about the swing between Marianne and Jonathan, I could easily see Omar sliding into that position as well, because Marianne is very overbearing. Jonathan is Jonathan. I mean, he's literally like by far the most physically imposing person they've probably ever cast on the show. Omar is the type of person I could totally see squeaking by. I think he's got a very good head on his shoulders. I think he's unassuming, but also very socially savvy. So I'm rooting for him. I think Omar could potentially make a really deep run at this.
I completely agree. And to round off the 3 people I think to look out for this season, Omar is the third person. I think Omar, similar to how Hai and Drea were the core of their tribe, he is the core of his tribe. And they've already touched upon that. Everyone likes Omar. They recognize his strategy, especially in his bromance, sort of alliance with Jonathan. Jonathan's the brawn, he's the brains. I think it seems like he has a pretty decent social game, and I think even his fun attire, kind of lends himself to seem like he's this fun character. But, underneath it all, he is a lot smarter than, someone might originally assume. I really feel like Omar is about to start coming up as a power player.
Yeah, I'm not I feel like even if his alliance is targeted first, I'm not feeling too worried about Omar. Even though he can't vote in the next episode, which sucks, I feel like Omar is going to position himself very well when the merge comes. So even if Jonathan is targeted or Lindsay is targeted, I don't think he is going to be targeted. I think people are going to want to pick him up as a number, and I think he has the patience and the know-it-all to use the strategy to his advantage. And sometimes you just got to wait for the other team to make a bad move, and I don't know. I don't know if they will. I don't maybe he will be part of the dominant alliance from the start. I don't know. It's possible, but I feel very good about Omar. He's like a lot of the players that I feel good about. They have some sort of advantage or idol, or at least know where it. He knows where it is, and he has access to Marianne, who has them both. And so I think together, him and Marianne could make it very far into the game. I feel he is my wife's winner pick, and I'm like, oh, it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
I do want Omar and Marianne to make it far. I really do.
All right, so the last person, Jonathan. I mean, we talked about this in the first episode, and I literally think every single episode has been the same. It's literally just this dude, he is redefining what it means to watch Survivor challenges. He is making Survivor challenges a must-see event again, and not just something that you kind of yada through.
Yeah, Jonathan, he's been dominant this entire time. But I will say this about Jonathan. I feel like unlike a lot of players who would play the big dominant game, I feel like he's playing it a little bit smarter than the average player.
He's got a really good head on his shoulders. Like, I don't necessarily think he's managing his threat level all that well, just because,
I don't think a player like Jonathan can.
No, you're right. You're right about that. I agree.
I think what his plan is, and he kind of articulated this one episode, is to be the meat shield that people take a little bit too far. And that is not a bad strategy. The record for most immunity wins on Survivor is 5. In this game, that just means he just needs to make it to 8 players left.
Uh-huh.
Can he make it to 8 players left and then dominate his way through the challenges? I wouldn't say it's a zero chance possibility.
But the thing is, Jonathan,
I just think that the people are getting, like, he is going to be such a tempting target literally every round.
But he's also a tempting meat shield for the players who are trying to hide.
And honestly, I think he's a way better player than Xander, both strategically and physically. But he could have the potential that Xander had, where it's he's almost such an obvious target that to a certain extent he almost becomes just being such a target, almost kind of
Well, to be fair, though,
neutralizes himself to a certain extent.
To be fair, though, it did come out by a million different sources after season 41 ended that the reason Xander actually made it as far as he did was because no one actually took him seriously. Something that did not appear in the end of the show at all, which is why a lot of people.
It's why every casual thinks Xander should have won.
Yeah, and that's it's not Xander's fault or anyone else's fault. It's the fucking show's fault for not putting that in the story. It needs to be in the story. It's an integral part of it. But in terms of Jonathan, I feel like he's better in every aspect. He's good socially. There is a bit of strategy to him, but he recognizes that someone like Omar is the perfect person to help him with his strategy. He is someone of his size. Yes, there's always going to be threat level that comes with someone just looking like that. He is not managing his threat level, period.
Yeah.
And he is very vocal about it. But also, if we look at Survivor history, people of his size generally do not do very well in the individual aspect of the game.
Yeah. There's a different type of skill for group challenges than there is to individual. Like James, everyone was so worried about James dominating China. He didn't win a single challenge. I mean, Courtney flipping won a challenge.
Merge, he did not win a single individual immunity challenge.
Yes. Yes, he's never won an individual immunity challenge, and I believe that's just because
I feel like Malcolm is kind of a similar trajectory.
Yeah. He very well could. I feel like Jonathan has some skills that maybe James wouldn't have. I
really don't know. The last time I can think that a single dude literally carried a whole tribe on his back like this might have been Boston Rob for Shapiro, way back in the day. I mean, and I don't know. It's just
Joe's first tribe didn't really even win.
No, that's But I'm just saying, Jonathan, he really does have that sort of pro physical athlete, star quality to him. That, like I said, it almost makes these challenges must watch TV just to see just how far he can push himself. And I'm really excited about that. Because I know that my grandparents, as they get older and as the game becomes more complex, they start to lean way more on all right, what are the challenges and who's going to get voted out? The complexities of the strategy kind of becomes a little bit lost on them. So I can really appreciate what Jonathan's bringing to the table as far as making the challenges a must-see event.
His only hang up for challenges though is that he's not great at puzzles. Like the only challenge that they lost was when he was leading the puzzle. And they, to be fair, they only lost by like a few seconds. That was an extremely close challenge. But he had a big lead in that challenge for the beginning, and then when it came to the puzzle, he just couldn't put it together. So I feel like it could be one of those things where everyone's like, "Oh, how are we going to beat Jonathan? How are we going to beat Jonathan?" And then just like a Rubik's cube is thrown in front of his face.
Right,
Like, I don't know how to do this. Not
Right.
what I do, but
Anthony Smith says Jonathan said he worked on his functional strength skills for challenges and survival preseason rather than just brute strength. He's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I obviously like we keep saying, I think his biggest obstacle is just like there's literally no way someone like him is going to have a chance at managing his threat level. He is a threat, like a threat with a capital T underlined with red Sharpie. But we'll see how far he can get. I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely rooting for him.
all he needs to do is to have other players keep him around just a little bit longer, thinking that he's a good meat shield for them just a little too long, and then jump on those immunity runs and play the heck out of him. That's all he really needs to do.
We'll see. All right. Any final thoughts, guys? We should probably. Are you guys cool to come back next week to talk through the whatever the hell merge we get this week?
It's definitely a double on tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a 2-hour episode. I'm not sure if it's been confirmed as double, but
I don't mean a double elimination. I meant like as opposed to last season where we had one episode and then the second episode was. I meant like a double episode. But
Yeah, we're getting 2 episodes in a row. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be willing to come on next week, but I won't be able to do it until like Monday, just because of Easter weekend and everything.
Okay, well, we can figure out
yeah.
the schedule, but I want to make sure that we commit to, because our whole format here with Storytellers has always been premiere, pre-merge, merge episode, penultimate, and then finale. So I think we should definitely come on next week just to talk through everything.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right.
Here, I want to get one more thing before we all go. Which two groups do you think are going to join together? I'm saying blue and green. That's who I think.
Yeah, I think Orange Tribe is the obvious target just because of Jonathan. I think that's how it's going to shake out initially.
I mean, on just looking at the surface details, I would feel the same as well. But we have no clue how these teams are going to shake up like they did last season. I'm actually thinking we are going to get a slightly unpredictable boot, and it's not going to be as black and white as 2 teams versus 1.
I hope you're right. I hope that we get kind of like a cross-tribal alliance where, it'd be great if we got like 2 people from each tribe in an alliance. Like that'd be really fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah. All
right. Okay, so see y'all later. Big thanks to Anthony Smith for joining us in the comments, and also I believe there was one other person. Let me see if I can.
Oliver Missinger.
Yes. Thank you. All right, and have a good one, guys. See y'all later.
Bye.
Hope y'all get bit by a freaking crocodile.
Zach.